championship type thing, isn't that right? And you probably get maybe a locker room afterwards. I don't know.
Yeah, that
I,
sounds
don't-
about
I
right. Yeah,
can't remember. Trying
sounds
to
about
remember
right.
post game how it works, but
Yeah, it's thrilling. All right, so we'll talk tornado. Also, Ben, according to the stream, you are now Ben Wolk, longest hair in the biz in the male division.
Yeah, I need to get this thing trimmed up.
Well, are you gonna go all the way short, or what?
No, I probably wouldn't go all the way short, but it's been a while. I think the last haircut I got was the Mississippi State football game.
That was a while ago, man.
I know, and it got way too short. I don't know if you remember, Bryan, but I couldn't put my hair up in a man bun in that game, and I was like walking around. Justin Ferguson and Tom Green were calling me. You guys ever seen Bob's Burgers? Tina from Bob's Burgers?
no, I don't remember.
Because I just had like a little bobbed haircut walking around.
Nice.
No, we don't remember that, Ben. I don't think we watched that show.
I don't watch it either, but I've seen commercials for it. The people who wrote it actually went to UGA.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in school there, the creator of that show had a wedding, and their wedding was in Sanford Stadium, and like all of these celebrities came for the wedding because they work in TV. So you had like all these TVs, like Paul Rudd was there. What's the dude? John Hamm was there. I remember it was just like all these people were in downtown Athens, like freaking out, getting pictures with these people.
That's funny.
You're a celeb, kind of, then, right?
Well, I'm not. I did shake John Hamm's hand because I was eating at the Globe, and him and Paul Rudd were at the corner, and they like poked their head in around the like back porch, and they were like, "Man, this place looks good. What is this place?" We were like, "It's the Globe." And I was like, "You're John Hamm."
Yeah, he's allegedly a jerk, right? No?
He seemed fine, but he was curious about the place we were eating at, so maybe we were just some use to him.
Oh. They just use you, and then they forget you, Benny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's bad. Things like that happen. All right, stream's up and good. We are moving right along.
All right.
I believe. I think B-Matt's looking handsome today in his hat.
Liverpool, even though they're disappointing me to no end, but
And
what can you say?
we have some soccer matches today, I believe.
Do we?
Borussia Dortmund's playing, and some other team, some other screwball I don't care about. But what I do care about is the tornado that ripped through Beauregard and Smith Station.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. Football team was out helping yesterday, which I thought was really cool. They ended up on TV, which I'm curious to know how that went down, because I think they were trying to not do that.
Right. Well, well, there were a lot of media folks participating in this, so I'm sure somebody spotted them or got a heads up about it. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're really trying to avoid that. And it's really tough for Auburn to kind of do the right thing there, I think, as a department, because you don't want to be part of the story. The story is the tragedy, and you got to walk a fine line there, I think. I also want to give a shout out when we're doing the show to Luke Perry, who I know Ben doesn't know who that is, but and Bryan may not either. I don't know.
Well, he was like the Ben of the 1990s, really, early 90s.
Yeah, I could see that. He was
Just
kind of
when
like
it came to the chicks, at least.
Yeah, my wife adored that guy.
Admittedly, I had no idea who he was until yesterday.
There was this show called Beverly Hills 90210, and it was a big deal.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the show, and since I found out about his passing, I've gone and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that guy before.
Well, my daughter knows who he is because he's on a recent show called Riverdale, which is sort of like a 90210 type thing.
Correct.
I guess. I don't know. She watches it.
He's the dad on that show.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like me and you, JG, we went from being like heartthrob sex symbols to being dads. I mean, it's the same, basically the same path.
Everybody has their own demographic, Bryan. I'll tell you that. There's some girls that really like guys with long hair. I mean, I've met one. But we'll talk about. I haven't met her, or was she an imposter?
I don't know if you've met one or not.
Oh, really? Would she prefer you to have short hair?
I think that she has no idea what that would like, what to expect from that. Like, she's never seen me with it, so I think that she was worried about what the change would be. But I think she's curious.
She's hair curious.
I've seen myself with short hair, and I know I should have long hair.
Can you provide a picture so I can see and we can judge
Yeah.
this? Bryan and I can do that
I
ourselves.
can show you some pictures where I've got completely shaved head.
We're waiting.
Yes, that would be great. Let's do that right now.
I look like I'm like 10 years old.
Were you 10 years old?
I was like 18.
You're like 18 now. Ben goes, the age jokes, whatever. We'll talk about the basketball game tonight inside the Coleman Coliseum. In the process of doing your research, Benny, did you see what the Auburn's record was in Coleman?
Not all time. I know they're 3 of their last 18.
3 of their
9
last
and 49, something like that. 7 and 49, maybe something stupid.
Bryan and I have seen a lot of Auburn losses in Coleman Coliseum. We can say that, right?
That's true.
So we'll talk about that game and what's on the line there. Again, Alabama plays pretty well against Auburn and Coleman. That's just kind of how it goes. And they're going to be doing their ODK trophy presentation, I would imagine, right?
Boy. Yep.
Sorry you're going to be missing that one, B-Man.
That's a shame.
We'll talk about baseball sweeping Cincinnati, not the Reds, but the Bearcats, and their search for a third starter. And update me on Davis Daniel, if you think anything's going to change with him, if he's going to start bullpenning in maybe 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. And then your guy that you wrote about, the JUCO slugger, plays first base, Rankin Woley.
Yes, he's pretty good.
He had himself a weekend, didn't he?
He did.
He's pretty good.
So did Stephen Williams.
Well, Stephen Williams. Here's the thing about Stephen Williams. So I think for a lot of casual Auburn baseball fans, he's going to have to do a lot to overcome that ball that he lost at Florida, right?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, for those of you like you who follow the team all the time, that's like old news. But for me, that's like the last time I saw him.
But I don't even think it was a bad play. I mean, he's going back toward the fence on the ball. The ball hits part of his glove and just bounces out. I mean, it just happens, you know?
I
never thought much about it.
I'm now looking at a photo of Ben with.
Oh boy.
Well,
this is definitely a young version of Ben for sure.
This is like kind of a mullety thing on top, and you're like at like MGM Studios in front of like some fake.
That was
Italian
that was
thing.
No, that was when I started growing my hair because I was studying abroad and I was scared to go get my hair cut at an Italian haircut place.
What were you afraid they were going to do?
They might give me the JG Tate. I didn't know what they were going to give me.
Now, you studied abroad. When was this?
Spring 2014 in Florence.
At Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
For
My
like
second.
a semester?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah. I have a good story. Did I ever tell you a story about our friend Bradley Handwerger, Ben?
I have not.
Bradley Handwerger used to cover Auburn. This is back when newspapers were a thing, and he worked for the Decatur newspaper. And he was a Georgia graduate. He is a Georgia graduate. He is now in physical therapy down in Mobile. Great guy. Bryan loved him too, but he was one of my best friends. Anyway, he is from Mobile, and I was sitting talking to David Housel. You may know him as the former AD at Auburn. And he and Bradley were talking, and David knew he was from Mobile. And he's like, well, did you consider Auburn? And Bradley was like, well, kind of. But, you know, being around a good Jewish community was really important to me. And David Housel goes, you found that at Georgia? I just thought that was a funny question. Apparently, there is a very large Georgia Jewish population.
Oh, yeah.
And he really appreciated that about University of Georgia, and that's why he chose Georgia from Mobile. So hey, man, I don't know. I'm not Jewish, so that's not really on my radar. Anyway, it was one of the funnier things that Housel ever said to me that I could say on the record. He's a funny guy.
I can remember another Housel story that you can.
Yeah, I better not tell that, buddy. I shouldn't tell that one on the air. But he's funny dude, man. I think the ADs are getting less funny. So Housel was really funny, and then Jay was not very funny. And Allen can be funny, but it's only privately. Like in public, he's like real stern and serious.
Allen's his funniest when he gets a little bit, relaxed and he's willing to sort of chop it up with you. He can be funny.
Yeah, he is, but he's never going to show that, I don't think, in public or anything. He's going to be, Mr. On Point, which is cool. I mean, it works for him. How do you think he became a great player at Notre Dame playing baseball, huh? I think he really
up and having fun and, just being all around, comedian.
I feel like baseball players have the best sense of humor of all athletes.
Yeah, but they're also the toughest to interview, right? I mean, I just think
they're
they're
a little spacey sometimes.
Yeah, and they get real like it's almost like Bull Durham. I wonder if that actually is a thing for them, like because they start standing the way Nuke Lelouch did at the end of Bull Durham when he's like, everything's for the team, and I just want to do my part and just get the lumber on the ball or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I also have some shout outs. Do y'all have any shout outs today?
I'd have one, but it's kind of old, but I can still bring it back.
Ben, can you hear Bryan?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so you
yes,
have one?
I have one shout out, yes.
Okay. And I'm sure Benny has several, right?
I do not have one, but I can get one.
No, you don't need one. It's fine. I've got plenty. David Hasselhoff had plenty because he did the erotica haikus.
Oh, boy. I haven't read that thread. I guess I need to go back.
I wonder if there's a Ben one on here. I know there's ones for other mods. Just to go through a few, because if Benny missed those. The first one said, so much cellulite, her body begs to be pleased. Doc knows what to do. The second one, ladies first, he said. She brushed his arm as she passed, and now she's pregnant. That was for BP Rockman. Mine says, math nerd, yes, she was. Wonder Years is a turn on. Danica is bae. Because you guys know I love Danica McKellar.
That's good.
I didn't see one for BMAT, though, but I bet there is one. There were a couple of them that were just a little too much. Maybe for the...
What, on the bunker? Are you kidding me? I
don't believe it.
My favorite, though, and I think I can talk about this one on the show. It says, new tits to play with. After I show the bunker, she's only my wife. At Luke21. Still one of the craziest things I've ever seen actually happen on the bunker.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I just can't even believe that happened.
I know, right? If you didn't see it happen, you wouldn't even believe it. All right. So that's pretty much what we're going to talk about today. You guys good with that? Is there anything else anything we're missing? What else do we need to discuss? We need to talk about softball just for a second, too. They did well last weekend, I thought. They beat the dog shit out of Oregon, and then they lost to Washington, but they were in that game the whole way.
They should have won that game.
Yeah,
bases loaded, no outs in the bottom of the 8th or whatever it is.
Twice. It was in the second or third inning they had bases loaded and didn't piss a drop. You got to do better than that, and they know that. They have some games this weekend. They're going to be playing the hated Louisville Cardinals.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. You know, I hate some Louisville Cardinals now. All right.
As much as you hate Duke?
It'd be hard to pick between those two. My dad is actually a graduate of University of Louisville, so I guess I would have to put them. I don't hate them as much, but I don't like them.
If Duke and Louisville were playing for the national championship, you'd be pulling for the Cards.
Man, I'd be pulling for I don't know what something bad, but not dangerous. Just like that the power would go out or something. I mean, they're still there. Yeah, I had a chance to actually cover a Kentucky Duke game in '98, and it was. I was still young then. I had a hard time putting aside my biases because Kentucky won that game, and I got to listen to Wojciechowski cry in the tunnel. It made me really happy. He was crying about having lost. He's sobbing, and Trajan Langdon is like hugging him, and I'm just like, kiss my ass. That's on you for going to Duke, bro. And I want to add, I'm getting fired up here, but in that game, Wayne Turner was a point guard at UK, and Wojo starts slapping the floor in front of him.
I remember that.
I was like, listen here, little boy. Like, he's about to kill you. And he did. He drove past him 3 times and scored on him 3 times, and Duke sucks. Duke sucks! Duke sucks so bad. Hi-yo! Hello again, and welcome to the AuburnSports.com rundown presented by Voodoo Wing Company. This right here, this very podcast or show, if you're watching on the internet, is your favorite show or podcast for all things Auburn and maybe a few other schools when they're in need of gentle disparagement, like those Louisville Cardinals, who have not been losing lately, but they still stink. And I hope that they start losing a lot soon because I don't like Louisville. I drove by a house here in Montgomery the other day. It had a Louisville flag in front of it, and I wanted to go in and actually have an inquisition about why you would do that. Please take the flag down.
A homeowners association complaint.
Yeah, it wasn't in my home area, but I could still just say my name is Ben Wolk and I live down the street here, and I'm pissed and I want answers. Or I could just do something to it and say, sorry I did this. Contact me if you're upset. My name's Ben. Here's my number. And I used to have short hair. If you guys are watching on the stream before the show, you know what I'm talking about. Also, Benny, I'll get to this in a minute. This is episode number 374 of this fine program. Today is March 5th in the year of 2019, and we are currently just hours away, approximately 11 hours away, from tip-off of Auburn's contest at Alabama against the hated Crimson Tide of University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa. My name is Jay Tate. I am publisher of AuburnSports.com. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Bryan Matthews, capital B, capital M, our ace team reporter, and a man who everyone from Westeros to other areas, perhaps south, knows is a many things. What up, B-Matt?
Well, I am excited about the return of Game of Thrones April 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Should be exciting. I'm not excited about how my Liverpool football team is playing right now. Very sad.
Did they lose?
They tied, which might as well be a loss right now. The way Man City's playing, it might as well be a loss. And I'm excited to be covering a baseball game tonight against the hated UT Martin, whatever they are.
Yes, that is you know somebody who's a UT Martin alum. No, he's from Martin, Tennessee.
Skyhawks. They're the Skyhawks.
Yeah, the Skyhawks. Matty Crouch, friend of the show, former SID.
Okay. Well, did you know that Ryan Jenkins is the head coach of UT Martin?
I did not know that.
Yep.
Ryan Jenkins is a native of Millbrook, Alabama, I believe.
That sounds right.
I think he's a former Millbrookian. We're also joined on the show by Mr. Ben Wolk, last name W-O-L-K, pronounced Wolk. For those of you who are watching on the stream, he has the longest hair in the business in the male division. Ben, word.
You know, what Bryan was saying about Game of Thrones, I was actually reading this morning before I got on here about the Battle of Winterfell, which is going to be in this final season. And apparently it's the longest battle scene in the history of TV or film. It's longer than the 40-minute battle scene in the last Lord of the Rings movie. Wow. So pretty intense.
Wow. Yeah, I heard that it took them like 3 weeks of filming that. They had to do every shot at night.
Yeah, like I was reading quotes from all the actors and actresses, and they were just like, I absolutely hated it. It was the worst acting experience of my life. Like, we were working all night long. We'd go to sleep at 7 a.m., and then we'd be back up there at like 3 p.m., and they were just like all miserable the entire time.
Well, good.
Sounds perfect Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
I hope it involves dire wolves. That's all I'm going to say.
It better. The dire wolves are the only thing that's going to slow these zombies down, right? The White Walkers, excuse me. The undead. I don't want to give away any spoilers, though. I did want to mention, or I mentioned there at the top, about Benny and his hair. As you guys know, those of you who are watching the stream and have seen pictures of Benny, he has long hair. We like to make fun of him, although you may find some cognitive dissonance. And JG, how could you make fun of anybody's hair? And that's a fair criticism. Benny did pass along some pictures of when he had shorter hair. One of them, he's like at whatever, what's this, Hollywood Studios, or it's made to look like you're in Italy or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's the actual Coliseum, but yeah.
Oh, okay. You have like a mullet, it looks like, and feathered hair in the front, and then you also sent a picture of you just like basically bald. I mean, your hair's shaved. How old are you?
That's how I looked. I was probably 18 or 19 in that one, but that was like the first 20 years of my life, pretty much.
Wow, you really do look 12 when you have your head shaved.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't know if I were to do that now, if I would still look that young, but probably.
Do you think that you should share these pictures with the bunker or no?
I think we'll pass. We'll let them continue to have their fun about man buns. I've tried to get rid of the man bun stigma by coming on these YouTube lives and wearing my hair down so that people stop making man bun jokes, but they haven't stopped, so it doesn't really matter.
I feel like your hair's down most of the time. Yeah, I think these ought to go in the bunker, but I leave that up to you. I would not surreptitiously put those to Van Gorstash or whoever would do our manipulations. I'm sure they could really do something with them. But that's your choice. You know what else is a great choice? Going to Voodoo Wing Company. It's a delicious place to eat. If you've been there in Auburn or in Vegas, if you happen to be out that way, the food is delicious there. It's made to order every single time. It's piping hot. It's so hot that sometimes Bryan looks at that and says, I think that would melt my teeth if I put that in my mouth. And then you give it like 30 seconds, and then you put it in your mouth. And then this incredible thing happens where Bryan just has that look of satisfaction. Bryan, am I recounting that fairly?
Yes. Yes, that's definitely my look of satisfaction. Yes.
And yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Your look of the look of satisfaction made me wonder if Vaughn could confirm that. But, I mean, I didn't want to get into that. They have a lot of different sauces. They're all delicious. Benny bounces around on his flavors. Bryan likes the voodoo. I like the black and Cajun ranch, and Jeffrey Lee likes the hot. So those are the things that those are our signature sauces as far as that goes. You can also get, in addition to the traditional wings or the boneless wings, you can get the Sidewinder fries. You can get the potato salad. You can get the nanner pudding to finish it off with. You can get the key lime pie that I like to finish it off with. There's so many things you can do there. Even the drinks are delicious. They're bountiful. Voodoo Wing Company on College Street, 3/10 of a mile north of the interstate. That's where you can find them. It's also, for those of you who've been to Auburn a bunch of times, as we have, and I also want to mention on the stream, Yvonne has commented and just says confirmed.
Oh, wow. Hey.
Hi, Bryan. How are you?
Good to see she's watching in. She probably wants to just check on Biscuit, see how he's doing.
For those of you who, are familiar with Auburn, you know where the Supper Club once stood, and this is Voodoo Wing Company's just a little bit north of there. And I've mentioned it on the show. I wish we had video of this, but Jeffrey was stuffed in a trash can there once, and he damn well deserved it. I can definitely see Jeffrey running his mouth repeatedly, and things like that happening. Benny may not see that.
I've had some moments at the Supper Club too back in the day.
Like, did you get put in the trash can?
Saw the bottom of a trash can though.
I don't know as though Jay Lee saw the bottom. His feet were put in it, I think, and then it tipped over. Seriously, I've only known Jay Lee for maybe 12 years. I shudder to think what he was like 20 years ago. I don't think I'd have liked him.
You've known Jay Lee since 2004, right? So,
yeah.
Or 2003. So that's almost 20 years, bro. 18 years, right? Wait, no. I can't do my math.
Yeah.
15, 16 years. So.
Yeah. When he was in college, I think he would have been a real terror, I think.
Yes.
I don't know if I would have liked him. I don't know if you would have liked him. Y'all used to run around together, too.
A little bit.
15 years ago. I do want to mention something that happened a long time ago. My wife and I went on our first date. Today is March 5th, but yesterday was March 4th. We went on our first date, March 4th, 1992. That's a long time ago. And Brian's thinking, I was married by then.
September of 88 was our first one.
Look at you.
I don't know the exact date.
It's incredible. See, that's a great... We, and you in particular, because you've been there longer, we are a great role model for Benny to show him that, yes, you can stay together and be happy for a long period of time.
That's true.
There you go, Ben.
It's true.
See?
That is true. Mine and Sarah's first date was January 1st, 2016.
There you go.
Now you just rubbing it in, man.
It was a Georgia-Penn State football game down in Jacksonville. And then we went to the zoo.
Was that a tone setter?
Yeah, I mean, she's a huge Georgia fan, so she loved it, obviously.
I was speaking about the zoo, but...
Oh, well, yeah, we both love animals. We love going. We still go to zoos. She was a member at the Jacksonville Zoo when we lived down in St. Simons.
When I was on my honeymoon, Ben, we went to a zoo.
Which zoo? I'm a big zoo guy.
The San Diego Zoo.
Oh, the best one.
It was a good one. We were down there in Southern California, and I felt like it was a tone setter because the Galapagos turtles were having a moment together, the male and the female. And it's slow, but, man, he was determined.
Oh, I hope he had a satisfied look on his face when he was finished.
And I think I can recreate the sound that this made. Hold on. You ready?
Oh, no.
And that was the sound of the... It was a pump, and then he would drop his shell.
I'm sure all the ladies listening are absolutely turned on by that sound, JG.
The Galapagos turtles experts know what I'm talking about. Moving on to things that we need to actually discuss. Yeah, the situation. Basketball. We'll start off with that. I didn't want to go into the tornado off the turtles comment. Before we get there, Luke Perry, the fine actor, passed away yesterday after suffering a stroke. And we were trying to educate Bryan and I were, on who Luke Perry was. It was a little bit before his time. But Luke Perry was an actor on a show called Beverly Hills 90210 that Ben says that he knows about. So, anyway.
I've heard of. I've never watched it.
He was a pretty handsome guy back in the day. My wife would have dumped would have dumped me for him. Absolutely. She might have like 2 weeks ago. She thought he was a hot man. Anyway, Luke Perry, rest in peace. Moving on to basketball. The Auburn Tigers are playing at Coleman Coliseum this evening. In fact, 8 o'clock Central Time. If you lived in the Eastern time zone, that means that game would tip at 9 o'clock for you. It's going to be on ESPNU. Auburn is currently 20-9, 9-7 in the league. Alabama is 17-12. How do they lose 12 games with that team? And they're 8-8 in league play. Benny, tell me what is on the line tonight for the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, another big road win possibility. I mean, these last 2 games of this week at Alabama and then back at home against Tennessee are both quadrant 1 possibilities, which is a good thing because, one, it gets you another quadrant 1 win, which can help you with NCAA tournament seeding. But on the flip side of that, the chances of a loss really hurting your resume too much isn't really there. I don't want to say that Auburn has completely clinched, but I know we all 3 said last week that we felt a win over Mississippi State would pretty much solidify their spot. It's an interesting matchup with Alabama. Obviously, Auburn handled them pretty well in Auburn Arena earlier this year, but you've got Alabama, one of the best 3-point defensive teams in the country at defending 3-point shooting, and Auburn's obviously the best in the conference at shooting threes. So sort of a good matchup, I guess you could say, just between what Alabama does well and what Auburn does well. Auburn obviously doesn't have a ton of success in Tuscaloosa, however.
No, we mentioned before the show, Bryan and I have seen a lot of losses inside Coleman Coliseum. And, Benny, you said they were, in your best estimation, 3 of their last 18 inside there?
Yeah, I think Bryan was saying they were maybe like 7-49 or 7.
9-49, I checked. Last win was 2018, though. So
that wasn't that long ago.
Mm-mm.
Prior to that, it was like that game that
2017, excuse me, 2017.
I remember Cliff won a big one there one time. That's going back a ways, though. I agree with what you said, Benny, that I think Auburn's going to get in the tournament already because worst case scenario, they're going to be 9-9 in the league going into the SEC tournament. I think that's going to be enough. But I'm sure they would like to get another one. And I don't know about Tennessee.
I think this game is really important from a seeding standpoint. You do not want that 8 or 9 seed. If you can get up into that 6 or 7 spot and avoid playing a 1, I think that would be huge. So even though you're probably in the tournament, these last 2 games are huge for, moving up the bracket a little bit.
What's the situation with health, Benny, at this point? Who do you think will not be available?
Austin Wiley still doubtful. Bruce didn't add much clarity on that front. I mean, he just said, I think he's still doubtful. It's still a lower right leg injury. They said that he did talk a little bit more than he has the last couple of weeks about Austin, just in terms of the process they're going through, and that when he re-aggravated it, is how he's describing it, aggravated against Kentucky. He didn't re-injure it, but the trainers decided that they were just going to sort of go through a full rehab process. So they're basically doing it as if he's going through the rehab as if he did re-injure it, even though he didn't re-injure it. But Bruce continues to be optimistic that Austin's going to play. I mean, he was asked whether he would plan on shutting Austin down before the NCAA tournament or whether he would maybe even consider shutting him down, period. And, I mean, Bruce was not willing to say that, but he also said that's a doctor and trainer decision. That's not my decision. So
I bet Auburn people, just your Auburn fans, are just getting sick of this because they keep waiting for Austin Wiley to be a 5-star, and he keeps getting hurt, and you just don't see much of the greatness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even make a separate story out of it. I just intertwined it into my preview story for today because I was like, man, the last 3 weeks we've written this Austin Wiley's doubtful story. Like, do they need to keep hearing that he's doubtful? I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. Yeah. Malik Dunbar, he seems like he's back to full health. He was asked, he was sort of asked, how is he after the Mississippi State game? And Bruce was like, well, health-wise, I think he's fine. He had to guard Quindaria Weatherspoon, and Quindaria Weatherspoon sort of gave him some buckets. But other than that, I think he's doing okay.
Yeah, about halftime of that game, I was like, damn, Q Weatherspoon's not really doing much. And then at the end of the game, he had like 24 points, just like normal. It happens like that sometimes. I know Bryan was covering baseball, I think, during that game, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you were. Yep. Auburn got out-rebounded 41-21 in that game, Bryan. And you've seen this team plenty. What is going to be the solution to this? Because, look, man, these big teams, these big, burly teams are going to continue killing Auburn on the boards. And I don't think they can count on Austin Wiley at this point. How are they going to counteract this?
I don't know if they have an answer because this team, I look at rebounding as more of an effort thing and a toughness thing, and I just don't think this team has it right now inside. Maybe Anthony or Horace and Chuma can step up a little bit more. Chuma's doing his part, I think. I mean, maybe he could do a little bit more. But the other thing is, I think Auburn could use more rebounding out of the guard position. That would slow down the team, of course, because that will take away from their fast break opportunities. So there's a give and take there. But, they're not going to go far getting out rebounded by 20 every game.
No. I mean, that almost got doubled up, man.
Yep.
You can't count on that. You think you're going to win. They did shoot well from 3 the other night, 13 of 30, which is not too bad. They did well at getting to the free throw line, 19 of 23 at the line the other day, which is a lot of free throws for them. They actually were pushing getting to the rim, which is something I've advocated for a while. But they finished the entire game with 1 offensive rebound.
Yeah. Auburn just doesn't have a lot of natural rebounders on that team. Just guys who are good at it, just naturally. And it shows.
It does show.
And they have a 6'7" center. That always hurts.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest way to do it. Hey, but to be fair, I mean, Robin was a great rebounder at 6'7" or so. Barkley did a good job at 6'6".
I mean, Sean, what's his name? Deshaun Murray, right? He was a pretty good rebounder last year.
He was.
What, 6'3"?
But Anthony McLemore, he made like 4 of 6 threes or something like that against State.
4 of 6, yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean that was maybe one of the big differences in the game. I know the State coach talked about that right afterwards. So there is a give and take there.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like if you listen to these coaches after they play at Auburn, like every single one of them brings up Anthony McLemore because it's like you can plan for Bryce, you can plan for Jared, you know what they're gonna do, but when you've got a 5 that's shooting 4 for 6 from 3-point range, it's like you can't really game plan for that. Like you kind of just got to let him have those shots. Yeah,
but they're giving up something too because he won't rebound. He had 3 rebounds the other night, 24 minutes out of your center position. I mean, I don't know. Listen, man, Bruce Pearl has the patience of Job because I would lose my mind doing that.
I asked him about this yesterday too. Like I just straight up said, "How concerned are you about this?" And he laughed and he was like, "Well, obviously, I'm very concerned."
Well, then go get some tall guys.
We lost by 20. We lost by 20 rebounds. I mean, he was like, "You're not going to win another SEC game by getting out rebounded by 20 points."
No,
or by 20 rebounds. And then he was also sort of trying to spin it to silver linings. Like, well, if you look at the LSU game, I mean, this is a Final Four caliber team with the talent that they have, and they had 29 second chance points on 20 offensive boards or whatever it was, and we still took him to the brink. So he sees positives. I think he's in his mind. It's like, well, if we can rebound the basketball, then we're going to be able to cruise in some of these games. Well, I just don't know if you're going to be able to rebound the basketball. Is the only problem.
Yeah, it's a true statement. I just don't know if you can actually do that. I mean, if I had $6 million and I looked like a movie star, I probably could get a date with Jenna Fisher or at least get close, but that's not going to happen. On the chat, Devin D, last name redacted, says the Tigers do a poor job of boxing out, and he agrees. He thinks it's more about effort. He also believes that any of us could grab 3 rebounds in 24 minutes. I'm not 100% sure that that's true. Benny probably could.
I could get 5 fouls in 24 minutes. I guarantee you that.
You sure of that?
Oh, yeah. Probably a couple of flagrants, too.
Do a little bit of leaning. Benny, do you think Auburn's going to win this game?
I do. This Alabama team's tough to figure out because, I mean, like you said, it's like, how does this team have 12 losses with the talent that they have?
Right.
But it's sometimes when you watch them, they just seem like they're disengaged at times. So that might be part of it. It's hard to know. Are you going to be disengaged at home against Auburn when you're fighting for a tournament spot? I mean, that's a little extra motivation to me for obviously Alabama to make the tournament, but for Auburn, I mean, it's like Auburn, if they beat Alabama, it doesn't eliminate Alabama, but Alabama drops to 17-13, and they really got to win on Saturday heading into the SEC tournament. So I think Auburn has a chance to, put Alabama out of the tournament or at least get them closer to it.
B-Matt, the facial expression there when Benny said that he thought Auburn's going to win this game makes me think you don't think Auburn's going to win this game.
No, I don't. I've seen enough of these games. Even if Auburn is the better team, which they are, I think, they usually lose at Alabama anyway. I think the keys are John Petty. When he's hot, Alabama's a really good team. So if he starts draining threes and they get a lot of momentum, I don't think Auburn has much of a chance. The other player to watch is Dante Hall inside. I mean, he could put up 20 and 15 boards against Auburn. I mean, he could just dominate inside. I think he's got around 50-something blocks already this season and a bunch of rebounds, and he's just the type of guy that Auburn struggles against, a big, physical, thick dude.
And sorry, JG.
No, go up.
Well, in Ken Palm, they have national player offensive rating, and Dante Hall is 19th in the country in offensive rating.
That's pretty good.
Which is by far the best in this game. I mean, I think Jared might be the highest on Auburn in like the 160s or something like that.
He's shooting 640 from the floor. 0.642. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. I like him. He's a guy. All right, so that's the game. I think Auburn's going to lose this game too, for what it's worth. Again, tonight, 8 o'clock, it's going to be on ESPNU, 8 o'clock Central. If you live in the Eastern time zone, it's more like 9 o'clock. And if you live in Hawaii, it's like way earlier. Shout out to all you guys in Hawaii and gals. ESPNU again. Before we get too much deeper into the game of this show, I should say, I want to talk about the NFL Combine, Brian Matthews. The bunkers seemed a little rustled by some of the really good numbers that Auburn players were putting up. In particular, Darius Slayton lays down an incredibly fast time. He's under 4.4.
4.39.
A lot of people were surprised by that. Do you think that's going to enhance his draft value?
I do. I absolutely do. 6'1", 190, 4.39, 40, 41-inch or 40.5-inch vertical. I think those are really nice numbers, and I think that's going to help him. I wasn't sure if he was a, mid-round draft pick, a late round, or maybe even, miss out on the draft. But I think he's in there now.
6'1" outside receiver who dropped balls last year.
Yeah, that's an issue, sure.
Surprising frequency. I mean, I think about Sammy, and I think that Darius is like a less valuable Sammy. I mean, from a draft perspective.
Right, so, but Sammy was a second-round pick, right?
Yeah.
So, I think Darius could be a third or fourth-round pick.
That would surprise me, but hey, I mean, I'm a podcaster and a streamer.
That's true. Me too. So
and a mean mod. I'm the meanest mod in the business.
But I think Jamel Dean is the one who helped himself out the most by far.
Wow, I could not believe that. He was the fastest guy at the entire combine.
Well, until the safety from Ole Miss ran.
Oh, that guy. He lied about his time, so I don't even care about that. But Jamel Dean, a 4.31?
I think it ended up officially going 4.30. 4.35.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got smoke coming off his shoes at that point. I mean, damn.
41 vertical, and that's 6'1", 206. So he's got that length that teams like at cornerback. May not have the greatest hips, but still, that's going to get him a high draft pick. I think he's moved up at least in the second round, just my guess.
Get Philip Lawley to work with him a little bit, and he'll get those hips opened up. You know what I mean? Yeah. Philip Lawley was a good technical teacher. And here's the thing about Jamel. I don't think he's an incubator guy where it's like he does great in these physical tribulations at the combine. He's a bad player. That guy played his ass off. He's a good football player in addition to being a freaky athlete.
Yeah.
And remember, for those of you who don't remember, he was completely given up for dead at Ohio State. Right. They wanted him to be a regular student and be done with football. And Auburn was like, nah, we're good. We can give him a shot. And he's been a tremendous player. He's overcome
3 major injuries, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, at least 2 major knee injuries, and he had another one at Auburn. So he's at 2 at Auburn, right? Shoot, Urban cut bait on him after 1 knee injury.
I think that was his second.
I wonder what Urban's thinking about right now, aside from, I can't believe I tried to sell Cam Newton out like I did, student athlete.
He's just counting his money, getting ready for the next one.
Waiting for that Southern Cal job to open up.
He's a legitimately bad guy, right?
Oh, no. He's teaching ethics at Ohio State. Sorry.
Yeah, he is. He's teaching ethics.
Character and leadership classes.
Yeah.
You know, my dad lives in Columbus, Ohio, and he's like a de facto Ohio State fan now. And although my dad's a very bright man, he has a master's degree in electron microscopy, among other things. He actually thinks that Urban Meyer's all right. I'm just like, Dad, the stories I could tell you, bro. I don't think people realize this stuff. I'm going to get fired up if I start talking about him. All right, moving on to anything else from the combine we need to talk about. I'd just say there's some good athletes at Auburn. You say that.
Yeah.
It makes me, just watching Jamel Dean's 40 time makes me want to know what Anthony Schwartz might run, what Javaris Davis might run, Sean Shivers. I mean, I know that Schwartz and Shivers are more 100-meter guys, but that Anthony Schwartz 40 time is going to be something.
Yeah. Well, he's an Olympics level athlete. I mean, And he seemed to, at least on social media, seems like he's going to be ready. He's already posted a time to get him to nationals. He's been hurt a little bit, very little bit, I think, with a hamstring injury. Those track guys, when they're 98%, they're like, nah, I'm not ready yet. I think he's going to be ready for nationals, and he's already qualified for nationals. So I'm looking forward to that. I've never looked forward to that before, but I'm looking forward to it this time. That dude is straight smoke when he's running. Anthony Schwartz I'm talking about. But hell, Jamel Dean's pretty damn fast too. I mean, and Bryan in his peak when he was at Sequoia High School was like a 4.5 guy.
4.20 maybe.
Those long strides.
Oh, B-Matt, one of the greatest athletes in the history of Sequoia High School. I also want to mention
short and terrible history, but yes,
it was a really tough few days in Lee County. Big tornado came through and did a lot of damage in Beauregard and Smith Station and areas in that straight line there. It ended up being a tornado that I believe officially is almost a mile wide. When they have kind of gone back and looked at that, a lot of people lost their lives. I think it was 10 people in all had died in tornadoes last year in the country, and we've lost 23 at last count in this one incident. And obviously a really tough time. For those in Lee County, it's a tough time for everybody, just mourning this loss of life. Auburn has been doing what it can to help out as quietly as possible. The football team was out yesterday helping volunteers in the area, trying to get stuff distributed out there. The Auburn community and the neighboring community has done an incredible job. The areas that have been taking donations are full at this point for the most part. So people here have just really shown how generous they are and how much they care about their neighbors. And it was awful to see it all go down, and then it's been great to see folks chipping in and trying to help as best they can. But this is one of those storms that I think, 40 years from now, we'll still be talking about how bad it was. The way that my folks who are up in Kentucky talk about that 71 tornado outbreak, and it was terrible. But it was great to see the football team out there helping. It's tough, I think, to strike the right chord when you want to help, when you're like a football team and you want to help. If Gus wants to go out and help, you don't want to make the story about you. You just want to go and do something to help. And a TV station caught up with them yesterday. I was surprised because I really think they were trying to avoid that. But whatever. They were out there doing the right thing for the right reasons. And I'm glad you guys are okay, too. Benny was on the south side of Auburn. I mean, you live on the south, a little bit south of Auburn, so probably white-knuckling it there for a minute, right?
Oh, yeah. But I will say, I mean, I've never really been around Alabama for one of these. I mean, I know it's not super common, but more common than it needs to be. But I will say it is inspiring to see how people from Alabama seem to come together through things like this. I mean, it's tough to see.
Yeah. The big tornadoes a few years ago in Tuscaloosa, I mean, Gene Chizik got the team up, and they went up there really quick and were doing what they could to help. So it goes across those kinds of boundaries. I think everybody just chips in, man. All right, moving on a little bit. The baseball team, I did want to get to that tornado before we Anyway, baseball, they stomped Cincinnati last weekend, which I don't think Cincinnati's a great team. No. But we're still trying to figure out how good this Auburn team is. We know they're at least pretty good. They may be excellent by the time this season's over. Bryan, at this point, what are your thoughts?
Well, the thing that stood out to me, the stat at least that did, Auburn had 37 strikeouts during the series, including 15 by Tanner Burns, tying a school record Friday night.
That's pretty good.
That's the most strikeouts in a 3-game series in more than 20 years. And they only had 2 walks in that whole series, which is the fewest in more than 20 years also. So dominating performance by Auburn's pitching staff. And I think they used 8 pitchers on the weekend. That's all. Tanner pitched a complete game. So really outstanding performance there. And Stephen Williams has got his bat going again. He's hit 4 straight games, 4 multi-hit games. And, you get him and Edward going together. Will Holland sort of gets his bat going. Rankin Woley's off to a terrific start, the junior college transfer. Auburn's got a lot of pop in the top half of that lineup. Yeah,
you didn't jinx Woley. You wrote about him last week, and the dude went off last weekend. So, I mean, that may not be a big jump to say that this JUCO slugger is going to do what he does in the SEC, but he sure looks good doing what he's doing right now.
Yeah, his team with urgency. First LSU, monster in JUCO last year. Now he's playing for.
Benny, you getting all that?
It was kind of breaking up on me.
Yeah, he broke up. I'll have to edit that out of the podcast. B-Matt, you still with us? We'll just wait for him to get back. For those of you who are on the stream, you know sometimes things get a little bit weird when you're relying on the internet to make sure that you get all your stuff together like that. B-Matt, you back? He's kind of.
I'm still here.
He's kind of frozen with a strange look on his face there. It's like he's saying no doubt.
Hello?
B-Matt?
Hello?
Are you there?
We can hear you. You're still, your picture's not with us.
Oh, I'm sorry. My voice is still here.
Hey,
Oh, yeah,
there
there
he
we
is.
Hey, hello.
Wonder what's going on with that.
You guys watch The Office? You know that episode where they all, they're like, hey.
Like
Do you-
Fonzie?
Yeah.
All right, B-Matt, we got you back now.
All right.
I'm glad to have you
Did
back.
you get all the baseball stuff?
No, I mentioned about Rankin Woley, and then you were like, you were starting to talk about him, and then I lost you. So, do you want to start over with that?
Yeah, Rankin is off to a terrific start. Leads the team with a 379 average, 6 doubles, 13 RBIs. Started his career at LSU, had a monster year at JUCO last year, and now is off to a terrific start playing first base for the Tigers.
Yeah, and he's going to be good. Going to continue being good. It's a nice little lineup. And assuming Will Holland gets himself going, that's going to be a really good lineup.
Yeah, he's batting under 200, I think now. Dealt with strep early in the season, just hasn't quite got going. But the thing that he's doing is still drawing walks and scoring runs. So he's not going up there and striking out every at bat and popping up. He's still having some good at bats. Just got to square up some more balls.
You just got to square him up.
Yep.
That's all it really takes. What do they got this weekend, B-Matt?
They have UT Martin Tuesday and Wednesday, and then who is it coming in? It's I'm trying to remember. It's UTSA, Texas San Antonio, coming in for a 3-game series this weekend. So Auburn has a chance to win, I think, all 5 games, depending on their pitching. And I think the biggest thing with this team is continue to develop that. They've got some really good farms. The third starter will be still some role guys.
Yeah, we're losing you again, Bryan.
Well,
Well, maybe you and I can just finish this thing out, Benny.
Bryan might he might be able to hear us. I don't know. Like earlier when I was going out, I could hear you guys, but you guys couldn't hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, there you go.
We're just gonna
definitely.
Yeah, we lost you again, Bryan. It sucks when we lose you because we miss you.
I mean, you're just giving such good analysis and content. I mean, as someone who doesn't really pay attention to the baseball team that much, like this is where I learn all my baseball information. So
I haven't been over there in a minute either. So
I will say, seeing Tanner Burns go 15 Ks and 0 walks is just insane.
That's pretty badass.
I didn't know he had it like that.
Yeah, he's good. He's pretty good. And then Davis Daniel, we're thinking what, maybe a month, B-Matt, something like that.
He is probably not going to start throwing again for another 2 weeks, and they'll bring him back slowly. I do not expect him to come back starting. I think they'll start bring him back as a bullpen guy, and maybe if it goes really well, they can move him back to a starter's role here at the end of the season. But I think right now it's getting him back healthy and seeing what he can do for the team a little bit at a time.
No doubt. Quick recap on softball. They had, I thought, a good trip out to the West Coast. They got 2 or 3 wins early. They beat Oregon badly. They run-ruled Oregon. Oregon was a top 20 team at the time, but Oregon had kind of a tough weekend. Then Auburn played number 5, Washington. Probably should have won that game. They had 2 opportunities, bases loaded, one of those with 1 out, and just bonked. Did not get anything done. They ended up losing the game to Washington in extra innings, although I still think that was a very encouraging outing for them. And then their much anticipated game against UCLA, who's ranked number 2, that was canceled due to weather. So they come back from California. They're going to be playing beginning this weekend. They've got a weekend tournament at home They start playing tonight. I do not have the schedule in front of me, but I know that they're going to be playing. Radford is here, Mercer's here, Louisville's here, and Michigan State is here. So those are the teams that Auburn will be facing this weekend. And I think they're in the poll now. Number 19 mentioned in the chat that they are ranked number 20 now. I did not know that, but that's good to know. And I will say this, they're better than I thought they were. Yes, they are. And they're still their pitching looks better than I thought it would at this point. All right, let's move on to some shout-outs. Brian Matthews, I know you've got one or two.
I've got one. Special shout-out to Auburn Cation. Him and his wife are foster parents, have 3 adopted children, and he was able to throw out the first pitch at Saturday's baseball game. And just want to send out a special shout-out to him and his family and thank him for what he does for the community and young kids who need a family.
Well, that was nice. It's a thoughtful shout out, Mr. B. Matt. Tough gig, man, foster parenting, but you're doing a lot of good. I want to give a shout out to Alpha Tiger 08, somebody that I don't necessarily see eye to eye with on the bunker, but he was stumping for a fellow bunkerite who's been banned, and he was trying to make a case for this person to be unbanned. And at this point, I am not persuaded, but it was a reasonable plea, and I appreciate the reasonable tone that he brought along. Also, a shout-out to Molester Stallone. His grandmother passed away, who he said had basically raised him. And obviously, our thoughts are with you, man. I do want to mention, if this brings a smile to your face, that Russ47 refers to you as Sylvester the Molester. He couldn't remember your name when he was talking about you the other day. I just thought that was funny. Also, a special shout-out to David Hasselhoff. You know, sometimes we like to give folks shout-outs for things that happened or a particular post in a thread, but David Hasselhoff did an entire thread by himself, the Bunker Erotica Haikus. Many of them I can't really repeat on the show here, but there was some funny stuff. His first one said, "So much cellulite, her body begs to be pleased. Doc knows what to do." That is in honor of our friend Doc Dumpsta. For BP Rockman, he offers, "Ladies first," he said. She brushed his arm as she passed, and now she's pregnant. For those of you who know BP Rockman, yeah. For me, he said, "Math nerd, yes, she was. Wonder Years is a turn-on. Danica is bae." In reference to Danica McKellar. You may know her as Winnie Cooper from the Wonder Years. I know her as Quite Sexy Lady. There was one that it was close, but I thought it was worth mentioning. New tits to play with. After I show the bunker, she's only my wife. That one is for Luke21, who graciously shared pictures. You guys know. I don't have to go into that.
Is Luke back with us? Is Luke still with us?
Oh, absolutely. Why would he have left?
I couldn't remember if he was like reprimanded for that or
by us.
I think I gave him a shout out for it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we weren't going to give him help. I mean, if his wife finds out about it.
He followed the rules. I mean, how
true?
He followed the rules, the letter of the law to the T.
He did follow the rules. You got to give him. In fact, he deserves that to be a title. I follow the rules. Yes. To a degree that we just couldn't believe it. Benny, do you have anything you'd like to say in this shout out segment, even though I know you don't have any shout outs?
I will give a shout out to DNATL for making the funny comment in the thread, the live rundown thread right now, saying that he's watching to see if Ben Wolk's mom walks in while he's chatting with his interweb friends.
That's pretty good.
D is one of my buddies. Yeah, we went to the Steel Panther concert together.
Oh, I think we met him, right? Didn't we?
Were you at the Steel Panther concert?
Well, at Voodoo Wing. Didn't we meet him at Voodoo?
May have.
Thought so.
I've hung out with him a time or two. Good guy, very funny. Anyway, I hope you share the pictures, Benny, on that bunker. But if you don't, I won't judge you. Before we go, I got to give a shout out to our friends at Voodoo Wing Company. Thank you for your support of what we do here. They know that we love them because we tell them all the time. But if you love us and we love what we do here, go support them. They're good Auburn folks, and they put out a great product. And say hi to Marge if you guys are in there. She's kind of loud. She works there at the at the counter. You're not going to have any problems hearing her talk. But her professionalism is just off the charts. You guys love her. Those of you who go to the shop know what I'm talking about. Also, a shout out to our friends at Lynch Toyota of Auburn. If you're looking for a new or used Toyota, that is definitely the spot. Paul Brockwell is the best general manager in the galaxy. This has been confirmed recently. We just got that information back from NASA and the JPL people there out in California. So we can say that now for sure without any threat of legal ramification on that. Paul Brockwell, as good as it gets. His whole staff there know exactly what they're doing. So if you're looking for a car, that is definitely the spot. I've bought 2 cars there, and I can tell you, and that was before I had a relationship with them, it's really easy to go there and get it done. I got it done in one day in both situations. Actually, just a matter of hours. Also, to our awesome subscribers at auburnsports.com, those of you who are listening on YouTube Live, and for those of you who will be listening later via our podcast, thank you very much for your support of what we do at auburnsports.com. We could not do this without you, and God bless you guys for staying with us. Many of you for 20 years or more. Thank you so much for being part of what we do here. We are eternally grateful. If you're not a subscriber, why not do it? $8.25 a month gets you access to all the great stuff Benny's writing, that Bryan's writing, that Jay Lee's writing, that Chad Simmons, our outstanding regional analyst, writes, and whatever I'm bringing, plus the greatest message board in the history of the internet. I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun. It's a bonding experience, and it can get a little crazy, such as we were talking about with Luke 21 earlier. But sometimes crazy can be good. Right, Ben?
I just still can't believe Luke did that. Every time I hear that story about Luke 21 pulling that move, it gets more and more legendary the further we get from it.
I like the way that he did this, and he's like, yeah, so what? Like, there's no regret, like no regrets. Anyway, guys, we'll be back later in the week with another show. Until then, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Love you guys.
Oh, yeah.
We lost you twice, B-Man. That's weird.
I don't know, man. I'm all plugged in. Must be old charter screwing around.
You just like paused right where you were saying that. It's kind of funny.
That's a shame.
I feel like somebody from Spectrum is just sitting there going, boom, fuck him.
Yep.
Got him.
Got B-Man again. How do you think that show went?
Thought it was good.
It was a long one.
It was long.
Really?
Well, it was also, we were on the stream a while beforehand while I was trying to figure out my internet stuff.
No, well, I mean, I'm saying the actual show was only 42 minutes on tape.
Oh, wow.
That stuff you're talking about was before that. And we also had Yvonne jump in.
How about that?
How about that, huh?
That's awesome.
My wife's not watching this. I promise you that. She's like, tell me about the stuff you're doing. What? It's called a stream, Courtney. What?
She had a rough night. The dog threw up, so she had to wake up and clean it up.
Can't it just wait until morning?
Dog throw up? No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. All right. Anything else? Any postscripts here?
I think dog puke's the way to end the show.
That's a great way to end the show. Benny, your homework is to work on this internet line, okay?
Yeah, I'll figure it out. When are we going to record again?
Whenever you figure your internet out.
Okay. I mean, I'll probably figure it out by the end of the day, but I was just curious.
I liked your picture from MGM Studios, though. It looked really realistic. It was crazy. It looked like you were in Italy.
Yeah. It's for Instagram. It's how millennials work. We go to fake places that look like real places.
I thought you were a fake millennial, though.
Exactly. I'm a fake millennial. So I go to, real millennials would pay like $1 million to like go somewhere just for an Instagram photo.
That's true.
Did you have fun in Italy, though?
I did.
Did you meet Amanda Knox?
6 months
story
ever.
from Italy you can share? Maybe nice little Italian lady that you met or anything?
Bryan, dude. Come on, man.
I mean, Italy sounds like a romantic place. I want to hear
it.
Something.
It was a good place. Also, it was a great 6 months.
Were you dating anyone prior to going?
No, I was not. No. But everything about it was awesome. I mean, the international soccer was cool. I know you guys are much more soccer guys than I am, but going to Fiorentina soccer matches were awesome. I mean, they were like middle of the table type of team, but they were I went to their big rivals Juventus. I mean, everyone in Italy is big rivals Juventus, but I went to a Juventus Fiorentina soccer match, and it was probably the craziest sporting event I've ever been to.
Did anybody take the top off?
Yeah, I mean, people, everything that could happen happens there. I mean, there's fights, there's people throwing, gas can or smoke cans at each other. It's nuts. I mean, the real crazy Italian soccer matches are in South Italy. Like if you go to Napoli, those fans are insane. I mean, that's like literally like Italian mafia territory, and they're like their entire like their main fan section is like an entirely mafia driven operation. Like,
damn,
it's crazy.
I wonder why Gonzalo Higuain left Napoli to go to Juventus. I bet people were pissed. Hey, how long ago were you at the Fiorentina stuff? Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
That would have been, it was spring 2014, so like 5 years ago.
Because Mohamed Salah played there. B-man.
Yep.
Yeah,
He wasn't there when I was there, but he was there the year after, I believe. When I was there, Cuadrado was there. Cuadrado was definitely the best player on the team when I was there. I'm trying to think. Rossi, before he went to Roma.
Well, their captain died. Like the guy who was like their all-time stud.
Very sketchy death too.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't actually gone back and looked at all the details on that, but I remember the day that happened, he was like in his hotel and there were no actual signs of anything that happened.
Yeah, his name was Astori.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Bryan wanted details on any girls you hooked up with, but let's not do that today.
Not really.
We'll do that off the stream. Bryan wants to hear all those words.
That's really a story.
Okay. She packed him a picnic lunch, Bryan, and they went to a park and they counted squirrels and sang sonnets to each other. How's that?
Maybe by the vineyards, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
That story you told off the stream, Ben, about meeting Amanda Knox was crazy. I had no idea that all that had gone down.
That was going on in Florence when I was there. Like that whole trial was happening while I was in Florence. That was nuts because there were protesters out on the streets all the time. That was crazy.
Is it? I mean, you knew her obviously well. Did you think she was as willing to party as some would say?
It's always the quiet ones that'll get you.
All right, we'll leave it at that. All right, we're going to say goodbye to our friends on the stream. Thanks for watching. You guys are the greatest, seriously. And we'll see you guys a little bit later in the week. Peace.
Peace.